Wow, Matthew Brown, UFO whistleblower Matthew Brown has just dropped some juicy information in the third part of his Substack series. So let's talk about it. Get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I'll talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please like and subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments below. Yeah, there's some really fascinating stuff to get into here, among which seems to be Matthew confirming part of the Project Preserve Destiny information. Yeah, we'll get into that. All right. The new year brought a new administration and a new Secretary of State. I was cautiously optimistic, partly because of Secretary Rubio's skepticism of Arrow in his pro-disclosure work in the Senate, and partly because I'd been told the president held all the cards on disclosure. A contact said the White House would soon quietly send people to speak with executive branch UAP whistleblowers. That's interesting. Executive branch UAP whistleblowers. I don't know what that means. Are there people in the executive branch, possibly permanent bureaucrats within the executive branch that could come forward testifying to this stuff? Because we've been hearing more and more that a lot of UAP secrecy seems centered in the executive branch, which is so weird to me because obviously the executive changes every 4 to 8 years. So it's not necessarily coming from the president, but from possibly, deep state, people within the executive branch, that is permanent officials or bureaucrats within the executive branch, which would be really interesting. Okay, so let's move on. Yeah, with the return of the Trump administration, says Matthew Brown, pieces of the UAP puzzle once again seem to be moving toward disclosure. That early momentum evaporated in late February 2025. I first assumed the lack of legislative outcomes from the November 13th hearing might have constrained the executive branch's options, but President Trump's unilateral tendencies undercut that theory. Confused, I set out to learn why. Through discrete inquiries, I discovered the problem was twofold: personalities and policies. On the personality side, multiple sources said a new faction within the second Trump administration had obtained limited access to the legacy program and was muscling in on the turf of prime defense contractors, causing quiet yet intense disruptions. So the Project Preserve Destiny information, as revealed by those Italian journalists, said that Trump was trying to, or already had, wrestle control away from the Pentagon of the legacy programs, of the UFO control group. He was trying to gain control of some or all of the UFO control group away from the Pentagon. So Matthew Brown's information seems to confirm some of that at least some faction within the executive branch is indeed trying to gain power over the UFO control group, or as he calls it, the legacy programs. And that is causing, he uses the term, they're muscling in on the turf of the prime defense contractors, like presumably Lockheed Martin, Northrop, Boeing, all those guys that are presumed to be part of the legacy programs or the UFO control group, causing quiet yet intense disruptions. So intense disruptions going on behind the scenes by this move from some power within the executive branch. Unclear, again, if that's Trump or some other, force to gain power over the UFO control group. That is wild. That is wild, guys. That is juicy information. On the policy side, multiple independent sources told me of a set of classified executive orders and agreements, sometimes described as treaties, signed by previous presidents without Congress's knowledge or approval. These secret directives bar or at a minimum restrain the elected president's ability to enforce the rule of law in relation to UFOs. If accurate, these illegal arrangements function as clandestine laws which abrogate the Constitution and negate the will of the people, all supposedly in the name of national security. And he hot links under illegal arrangements to this page on PEDS, on Presidential Emergency Action Documents, which we've been hearing more and more about as it pertains to this topic. Very intriguing. Meanwhile, the White House went quiet on UAP, and Congress remained motionless. Those of us still working inside the executive branch suddenly looked exposed. Risk adverse managers started looking for neat ways to clean up any messes. By March 2025, I was in purgatory, Roslyn, Virginia. It was obvious that I was now considered a liability. The necessary pretext arrived with a new executive task force, Doge. And then he talks about getting doged. Yeah, Matthew Brown says he was doged. And then he describes his journey as a UFO whistleblower outside of the government. It's good stuff, and I will link to this, and you can read all about it at your leisure. And he finishes by saying, we are one day from the third congressional UAP hearing in as many years. I will not be testifying. 4 brave Americans will appear before Congress. Whatever hardships I faced on this path pale beside what these witnesses have endured. They will speak for many who have been silenced, and I am excited for what will be revealed. Well, me too, Matthew. I mean, I hope something comes of it. I'm not expecting much, but I do think that this will advance things in the public consciousness. You know, it'll get a few normies who are now considering UFOs for the first time because of all the hubbub in the last few years to take it even more seriously. And it'll get a few fence sitters off of the fence, and it'll keep things going in Congress. It'll hopefully spur some level of UFO whistleblower protection, which I think is one of the main intents of the hearing. And it could do that, and it could do a lot more. Maybe we'll hear about some juicy UFO interactions. And George Knapp hopefully will speak to what the Soviets were doing and of the bizarre encounters, UFO experiences, you know, the people in Russia were experiencing and sometimes being victimized by aliens turning people into stone and so on. Really fascinating stuff. But yeah, so there you go. Matthew Brown giving us some, in my mind, very juicy information about the executive branch. Somebody, whether it's Trump or some other power within the executive branch, whatever that would be, trying to gain control over at least some of the UFO control group. That is huge, guys. But like Matthew Brown said, he had been told Trump held all the cards in relation to UFO disclosure, and it hadn't happened yet. So he says there's intense disruptions going on behind the scenes, whatever those might be. So yeah, if you're pro-Trump, it's going to be a good thing. If you're anti-Trump, you're going to see something sinister in that. But either way, it's very interesting, and it's very different from anything that we've heard before with previous presidents. According to Ross Coulthart, Biden was ordering the shoot downs of UFOs in Alaska. Didn't say anything about it, right? No president, including Trump in his previous administration, has ever really said, the truth about this stuff, what's really going on. And Trump hasn't either. But it does seem like there's something different going on now than has ever gone on before. And we don't really know what that is, but I think it's worth keeping our eye on, that there is a shakeup in the power structure of the UFO control group, and the executive branch is heavily involved. What will that mean for UFO disclosure going forward? I have no idea. But it's interesting, and it could be something different than what we've gotten before, which has been bubkus, let's face it. So let me know what you think about all that in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Hit the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Also, let me know what you're expecting for the upcoming hearing tomorrow. Are you expecting some juicy UFO disclosure? Are you expecting some colorful anecdotes about UFOs? Or are you just kind of, rolling your eyes and saying, I'm going to wait till the next hearing when something really spicy is going to drop once we have these UFO whistleblower protections in place. Let me know what you think about it all. Like and subscribe, buy a t-shirt, become a channel member, and there's plenty of other videos on the channel. See you next time, guys. This is Jack with Cosmic Road signing out.